Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of The Unattached with your hosts. She's Theresa.
He's Ryan Stanley.
And we're here once again for your listening pleasure. Want to give a shout out to all of our new listeners and everybody who has since joined us on social media and been downloading our podcast. We really appreciate it and are excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
So last week we had a cool episode. We talked a little bit about the whoosh. We talked a little bit about
More books,
and then some word usage. And so, we left it on. I was working on using the word need or less, using the word working less. Still working on that one.
Wait, I'm lost.
You are?
You're working on using the word need less.
Correct. Not the word needless.
Yes. Okay, that's where we're good.
Right. So the word need, I want to use that word less or not at all.
Gotcha. Just clarifying.
Yeah. It's actually interesting. I found even myself sending a text to somebody, oh, I need that, and I erased it. And it just, so, the concept is to just create more of a awareness of that I don't need anything.
So what did you replace that word with in your text?
Great question. I don't recall. I remember just thinking as I was replacing it, but it was something like looking for, could use.
Desire, seeking.
Yeah. So at least even just from an energetic standpoint, there's less of a need or feeling of lack. And should is the other one, which is I've been working on for months.
Yeah, I know. It's trying to stop shooting on yourself.
Stop shooting on yourself.
Yeah, you should stop that.
Because, again, it implies judgment of some sort.
Yeah, this is true.
You should eat healthy. Maybe. Right? Depending on what your results are, what you want.
Depending on what healthy is to you.
Yeah. So you could eat healthier. Mm-hmm. But at any point using the word should.
And could also opens it opens you to possibility, whereas should is more directive and saying, like this is the path, this is the singular directive.
Right.
Whereas could implies that there are more options, which there are, but having that implication, it presupposes choice and greater choice
exactly.
and abundance.
Also puts you in control.
Yeah.
Right. I could do that.
Yeah.
Somebody else might think that I should. There's a perspective that I should, but in the end I could or I could not.
Got it.
Kind of
so any unique experiences with shooting on yourself as of late?
I think for less shooting.
Less shooting, more coulding?
Less shooting, more coulding. No,
Sounds like a personal problem.
Right, I'm trying to cut down on my shooting the pants.
High five on that one.
Thank you.
He's here all week.
I think, try the veal. I think, no, it's something I've been doing for a long time. It's definitely made a difference. And it does in any conversation. Even when I hear the word should as a coach or just as a friend or just in any situation, when I hear it, I immediately, like a flag goes on in my brain. It's like, well, how true is that? I mean, that's the immediate question. How true is it that you should be doing this? Mm-hmm. And from whose perspective is that? And so again, brings us back to awareness and choice.
Funny enough, so I have a coach who I actually, I hired, I have a coach.
Yeah.
I firmly, and I think we've talked about this in the past, I think everyone should have a coach, but especially coaches, because coaches can hide.
Yeah.
Because
tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and so the reason I say that coaches can hide is because, not necessarily the do as I say, not as I do mentality. A lot of coaches, we walk our talk. There's a lot of integrity when it comes to coaching that is necessary to be an effective coach on some levels.
Holding the client's agenda, is key.
Well, and also, kind of showing up, being completely who you are, and I don't know how else to say it, but just show up. Yeah. So that's there, but a lot of times coaches, there's a lot of service that we give to other people. There's a lot of effort and energy and focus that we put into our work. It's easy sometimes for us not to reap the benefits of coaching because we are coaching. We're not being coached. And I know they say as you coach, you are coached.
Right.
So there are lessons that you learn and you draw and you pull
feeding
from.
Your subconscious.
Yeah, especially when you are coaching someone else, because sometimes, it might be an aha for them, but it's also new for you. You've never thought of it that way.
It's actually one of my favorite things about coaching.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's very poignant and impactful for you as a coach. But when you when you think about longer term goals, your vision, your mission, your core values, how you're aligning with that, putting together that structure that you're putting together for your clients, I mean, it takes a unique individual to really be able to do that for themselves sometimes and really hold themselves accountable.
Yeah.
I think, though, having that outside kind of
detached perspective?
yes,
An
Ryan.
unattached perspective, perhaps?
I thought you would never say
know,
that.
sorry. Yes, go
but
ahead.
having that is really, it's a remarkable experience because you can hide from yourself. And, you know, I call them, I think we've talked, I call them the moments of lonely choice where you can, like, I live alone. I shouldn't say that on the internet, but I live alone.
That's right.
I'm kidding. So I have a studio.
I'm kidding. I live with a very strong...
bear.
Right,
There's
exactly,
a bear in
yeah.
my apartment. No, but I can go home and eat a pizza and lay on the floor of my apartment and stare at the ceiling and not do anything. And no one will ever know. But in that moment of being alone with myself and choosing to write a blog post or, do a blog, like do some emails or reach out to someone on LinkedIn or
Take some action that moves you forward towards your goals in life.
absolutely. Or something that is more directed, hitting the gym. If I didn't go for a run last night, no one would have known but me.
Right.
So having a coach though to really help you kind of team up with you to reinforce those decisions and really hold you accountable when most of the time you hold yourself accountable, but sometimes you slip a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a really impactful experience. So one of the things, the reason I brought this all up is because my coach has gifted me with the word edit. So instead of singular words and languaging that I am trying to shift, I mean, that's really, you're working on the words need and should.
Yeah.
Actively removing them from your vocabulary, awareness, detaching from those words. I am actively detaching from anything that takes me out of being my highest and best self at any moment. And if I have any thought or inclination to speak something that pulls me out of that or is detractive, deflective from who I am or dims my light a little bit,
Yeah.
the word edit just like flashes across my psyche. She has gifted me with it in the best.
Rephrase/edit.
Yep, just edit, like flat out. So it doesn't even give you the chance to think about how you could rephrase it better. It's just a chop, replace.
Right.
And it's awesome. It's a little difficult actually.
Comes into play a lot.
It
Do an edit count by the end of the day?
So I tried that, and I would challenge any of our listeners, like, I don't know where you're at in kind of your journey of life and where you're going with your attachments, detachments, who you are, who you're becoming, who you want to be. But it's definitely a challenge I would pose to you, and, keep me updated. Let me know how it goes, because I'm sure you'll definitely hear about both of our pursuits, you and I.
Of excellence?
Pursuit of, shifting some things, but...
Actually, we went to a... We went to a training, or it was an event maybe a year plus ago by a woman named Nurka.
Oh, you and me? Yeah, I remember that. That was
some other IPEC people.
It was quite an interesting, and I had a couple friends that came. That was quite an interesting experience. Yeah.
Will, right?
My buddy Will, yeah.
And so she used to work for Tony Robbins, and so she's got some great experience. She has some good energy, and interestingly enough, I didn't find. When we were there, I didn't walk out like, oh my gosh, my life has changed and this is great now. But there was bits and pieces.
We gonna climb Everest.
Yeah, we did some.
I'm the next Tony Robbins.
That's it, I'm in.
Yeah.
But actually, she did have one exercise, which I think I manipulated in my brain. Like we did it one thing. It was about visualizing.
I remember this. You were.
I was like trying to make it
hilarious.
up afterwards.
Yeah.
So anyway, but the one I turned into in my brain, what it is. So the short version is it's something about deciding, somebody else who you want to emulate, and first you picture yourself on a screen, like doing the behavior that you don't like.
Like a movie screen.
Correct.
Okay.
And then you somehow picture somebody else who is doing the behavior differently and how you prefer to be doing it, and then somehow combine the two. And again, this is why I had to change it in my own brain because I don't remember how it was done.
Sure.
But so in my brain, what I did was I pictured it as a movie. Like I watched the movie on the screen, the scene of me behaving the way that I didn't like, and then I literally visualized myself with the film strip taken out of it, and I cut that piece out.
Okay.
And then I put it back together
with the clip.
With the clip of what I preferred to be done. And then I watched it again in my mind, watching this on the screen of me behaving the way I prefer to be, and like that's the truth now because I cut out the other part.
Yeah.
So that was a form of literally editing my own story.
Way to really, mess with my head there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's something to plan.
Go team.
I don't know what that will lead to, but
can I ask what did you clip and replace in that visualization, if you care to share?
I think I clipped myself procrastinating.
Wow. Okay.
And then inserted follow through.
Funny, yeah. Funny enough, I did the same thing, but with emails. And I don't know if you remember, because we talked about this. One of our other IPEC employees, who's actually runs our IPEC Canada division, Theresa Murphy.
Yeah,
She's
there.
yeah, she and I have a lot of very unique similarities, just kind of in our life, coming from big families.
It's Theresa.
And her name, she's the only other Theresa at IPEC. I really tried not to like her because her name was Theresa and I wanted to claim that, but it's hard. She's so magnificent.
She's Canadian, though, too. I mean,
she is Canadian.
How many Canadians do you really dislike?
Ah, man. I mean, they gave us Ryan Gosling.
Right.
But they also gave us Bieber, so it's a little bit of a toss-up.
Mike Myers.
This is true.
Jim
Celine
Carrey.
Dion,
Right.
Drake.
Canadians unite.
Yeah. Justin Trudeau, like, come on. I just saw him riding a bike and kayaking. It's like he was riding a moose bareback.
Makes you just want to drink beer, watch hockey, and drink some maple syrup.
It's true. And have some poutine and,
I don't know what poutine is, but I'll
it's
take your
great.
word for it.
French fries with cheese curd and gravy. It's a national staple, eh?
Eh?
But she was the person that I wanted to emulate because every time I send that woman an email, it literally comes back with a response probably within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And here I am. I mean, obviously, as an admissions coach, we talk to hundreds of people in a week.
Right.
Like hundreds.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like thousands. Between LinkedIn, Facebook things, and then you have, God forbid you give someone your actual phone number.
Right.
Which I was appalled when you told me that you used to like, if somebody wants to chat after hours, I'll give them my cell phone sometimes. I've done that, and I gotta say, it's a different experience.
Surprise!
Yeah, and she was that person. I was like, how does she do this? It's amazing. Yeah. So I got decently good at emails, but I realized very recently that for me, I'm very bad at text messages. Like,
I am also
terrible.
Not awesome at text messages.
Like, and I'll read it, and I'm like, oh, awesome. Oh, my gosh, that's a picture of your new child, or, hey, we're hanging out. And then a phone call comes in. Like, our jobs are very demanding during the day, and then you kind of need a little bit of a mental break after for a bit. So that was my opportunity, and as you're saying this, I'm just thinking, like, what would Theresa Murphy do if I texted her? She would get right back to me, wouldn't she?
What would Timo do?
T-Money, Timo, that's me.
Oh.
People call me Timo. I don't know if our listeners know that, but Timo.
Okay, you're T Murphy. I mean, you're T Money.
I'm T Money.
She's Timo. I just was under that impression.
Oh, so
because of T Murphy.
There are a few that do call me Timo for your knowledge, but
I'll take a high five for that one.
Learning new things, but that would be the opportunity for me, just in what you're saying. So as
clip
a listener,
out you just disregarding emails and clip in you.
No, text messages.
Oh, text messages. Yeah, thank you.
It's bad, and even phone calls. I had somebody ask me, a guy that I play soccer with, my buddy Yuri. He was just like, so like, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Because I've called you, I've texted you. He had I told you he had a bunch of other, like a couple other people like reach out to me to try and get me at the same time.
Is she all right? What should we do here? How do we
I got
find
an
her?
all caps text message that was like, come play soccer Sunday night or something like that. And I was like, okay, fine.
I'll be there. Thank you.
So that would be my opportunity. Like really, instead of the thought edit or word editing, it's literally like action editing.
It's funny to your point about getting stuff done, deciding when to do it. The other side of that comes, and there's actually, I'm bringing this up now because it came to me last night / this morning.
Yeah, you mentioned,
wanting to get stuff done and holding yourself accountable, but not always doing it. And then what comes along with that when you don't, when life does get in the way.
Yeah.
As somebody who has a full-time job, a more than full-time job, with a couple different roles at IPEC, 2 kids, a t-shirt company, a coaching business, who knows what else, a number of different things that I tend to get to on a regular basis. Sometimes it doesn't all get done.
Mm-hmm.
And so last night it was 10, so I worked a regular day, ended up spending some quality time with my wife for a little bit before bed. And then at 10 o'clock, I was still in bed, just kind of watching it was an interesting program, Egypt.
Did you say it was like, the Egypt, like the
on
pharaohs
the pyramids,
documentary?
they were trying to figure out which pharaoh built the
Look,
Sphinx.
We all know it was aliens, but you were saying.
True, valid point. But anyway, so I'm like, meanwhile, as I was falling asleep, I was like, well, had I not been watching the show, I would have been in my office, and I started in my office, I would have gotten more done and not been tired enough to fall asleep. And so this morning I woke up with, as I'm analyzing now, with a level of regret, like, okay, what could I have done differently? And I was kind of stressed that I'm what's the word? Resistance is winning sometimes.
Yeah, but it doesn't, so if I may, it doesn't sound like you are resisting productivity. It's you are prioritizing relationship over
No,
productivity.
the time with the wife was good,
Okay.
but then she went to sleep,
Oh, gotcha.
and I stayed watching television, watching this Egyptian show, as opposed to getting out of bed and running down to my office and starting. And so,
Yeah.
which happens. Like, listen, I mean, it's 10 o'clock at night. You don't need to necessarily start work
Well,
at
that's
that point.
sometimes my sweet spot, but
Right.
yeah, I know what you mean.
Exactly. So I'm not saying I should have,
Uh-huh. Oh,
but
I see what you did there,
but I
friend.
am saying
Yep, what are you
I
saying?
could have.
You could have.
And
I'll take a high five.
Thank you. And I let my comfort
Yeah.
or priority in my current state take precedence, which was fine.
Wow.
And it
Okay.
wasn't a bad thing. But this morning I woke up thinking it was a bad thing. So one of the things I'm keenly aware of is, choosing, so I guess my point is this morning I woke up thinking, like, I was kind of complaining to myself, oh, you're not doing this, you're not getting enough done, where's the focus? And I said to myself, well, I'm really just complaining.
Okay.
I'm just complaining to myself. Does that serve the purpose in the end?
So what did you come up with the answer?
I came up with 2 questions to ask myself in any challenge when I'm frustrated with my own behavior, and that's A, am I complaining?
Yeah.
And if so, stop that.
Stop that.
B, what's a better use of my time right now?
Sure.
And can I serve that purpose better? Even if it's by setting up a specific action step.
So that's really interesting that your question that you ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? Because as you personally, I know that you know a little bit about like what I've been doing with my time in the last couple of years. So my family, my mother, we lost our family home in Hurricane Sandy. So there's been a lot of time spent on that in various ways. And that is winding down, actually demolishing the house, all the other stuff that went into it, and then building the house, quite literally building the house, like
Right.
building
Step by step, like hammer, like drills,
the house.
like putting
Yeah.
wood, putting up walls.
I mean, when
putting
they say
floors.
modular home, you kind of get these boxes. You got to do all the other stuff. There's a lot of other stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so now that that's winding down, it's like I feel like this decompression, like I'm literally looking at my time differently, in a little bit more of a relaxed way, instead of, everything is constantly scheduled. Like I have friends that their whole lives I feel like are passing because I'm busy building this house. I don't really know what's going on with them. And all of a sudden I've had like this slight decompression phase of a couple weeks. And I had I have a boyfriend, we've been dating. We had a great weekend together. It was a lot of fun. We did some really cool stuff. But like coming back to work on Monday was disorienting.
Right.
It was like, how do you go from, like, I went from this like regimented, restricted, like schedule everything in between Monday and Friday. And our jobs, we work well over 40 hours a week most of the time.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, manual labor, quite literally 2 days, everything,
Right.
all weekend. And then, after work sometimes, and, then kind of,
All of a sudden you have some free time
and it's
and you're a little
disorienting.
confused.
Yeah, so coming back to work, like literally, it was hard not to ask myself over the weekend, was this the highest and best use of your time? And the answer was absolutely yes. And it was really cool to have that residual, like lethargic, how do I get back into work mode, but still value my connective time, my fun time, free
Right.
time, if you will, that I'm so used to having so limited. So it's finding that balance for me. So even though it may not feel like you're doing these quote unquote productive things, you're not sending out emails, you're not
Yeah.
closing deals, you're not, connecting with clients or doing a podcast. There's that value there. But
Life of living.
yeah,
But
which is kind of like exciting for me. But when you do have the opportunity and you just kind of like go to sleep, that's okay sometimes too.
Absolutely. I mean, I was physically falling asleep. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
that's
so,
okay.
that was my rationalization. It was like, okay, I guess I'm tired. My body's saying something,
Yeah, that's like a thing. Like
So,
your body
again,
needs that.
I don't want to say that I should have. And I honestly believe that. Like, I mean, it makes sense to where I was.
Yeah.
I was really just analyzing awareness the following day and how my response, or was I reacting to what did occur, and how that was serving me, and what the lesson is there. And this is probably a completely different solid episode, but referring to your kind of awareness of how we're spending our time.
Sure.
I definitely want to at one point talk about when we start to really be aware that we're choosing how we're spending every single moment of time,
Yeah, that's big for me.
that it slows down.
Yeah.
And because you're no longer feel like you're in a hurry because you're exactly where you've chosen to be.
Yeah.
And when you're not worried about what somebody else wants you to do or what you should be doing or what anything, there's no pressure, or if you're late to be doing something else, you're just, I'm here because I chose to be here. And once you completely own that in every moment, you're just here, and it gives you an opportunity to be more present.
Put your phone down. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next.
Right.
Stop. I listened to Simon Sinek. He gave a talk a while back about millennials, and one of the things he says is if you wake up and look at your phone before you even say good morning to your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your spouse, your children, you are addicted and you are not living your life. You are living in a fantasy world, and you are missing everything that's happening in front of you. And that hit me hard. And I don't look at my phone. That's also one of the reasons why I'm very not so good with texting.
Yeah.
Is that I don't look at my phone very often. But that hit me like really hard. And, talking about how you're here, when you're really engaged, time slows down. It just doesn't exist.
Right.
And it's funny because for me, I set a bunch of alarms in the morning because I am just present with my morning a lot. But I need something to kind of keep me moving.
Out of the presence every once in a while.
Yeah, like, okay, you have to actually go to work. Like,
there is an agenda here.
Hey, yeah, so, it's an interesting thing that you mentioned that. That's a solid point.
And I think it brings more joy and comfort in life, too. I mean, once you're not worried about anything that's not happening now, it puts you more in control again.
Yeah, and think about the connectivity, the experience, the depth of connection that you have with somebody when you're fully present to them in that moment. And you're literally sharing, the way that I think about it is you're sharing a mental universe. Because we are these singular conscious beings that float around the world, that we just float in existence. Right. And we bump into other consciousness. We bump into your sphere of consciousness, and that Venn diagram, some things overlap. What do we have in common? That's what we connect on. That's what we do. But when you get curious and you fully engage in that other bubble of another human being, and you fully let your spheres of consciousness overlap, it's an amazing experience. And you can get really curious and you learn so many things, and you have all these amazing experiences with different people that you never would really
had you not taken the time to be there.
Yeah, just to show up. And I can tell you some crazy stories just about how those kinds of experiences have led to, like, hanging out with some friends in London.
Right.
Heading out to Costa Rica, like, spending a week in San Diego, like all these different just crazy opportunities.
Had you not taken in a moment to just speak with somebody who you might have been in a hurry to not to? Or
I wouldn't be a coach if I didn't do that. I wouldn't be at IPEC. I wouldn't be doing this podcast.
Right.
It's interesting.
So what's the lesson, hypothetically, if there was one?
Well, Ryan Stanley, I think that the lesson is to be patient, be present, and be joyful.
Oh.
There it is.
So I'm writing a book right now with that title. And that will probably be a podcast for another day as well.
But ultimately, be present.
Yeah.
And when you are present, at some point, the words don't matter. The attachment to words doesn't matter. The attachment to what's going to happen, what you're going to say, how you look, how they're looking at you, how they're perceiving you, all of that just washes away, and you have a real, true, honest connection with another human being, and it's beautiful.
And, even to go back to that, so this morning, so here's how my day started out, and I'll take it brief, but I woke up around 6 o'clock, kid stuff, wife stuff. I made breakfast for my boys, took my older son to the bus stop, took my younger son to school.
Sure.
Spent some time there with him, came back. I didn't start my work at IPEC today until noon, so I do a 12 to 9 shift. So came home, exercised, went swimming, and I'm out there swimming, and I'm stressed out about what I didn't get done last night, right?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So then, like, on my way
what?
in, on the way in from the pool, I'm realizing, okay, this was my morning. I just spent time with people I love more than anybody on the planet. And in my yard, there was like literally at one point this morning, a mama deer and her baby deer had gotten trapped in the fence in our backyard. And my wife and my 2 kids and I were looking out the kitchen window, watching these deers frolic, And
Did you get them out?
Yeah, they get
okay.
out. Yeah. And so here I am 2 hours later, just unhappy because I went to sleep at 10 o'clock last night. So life is so amazing at every given moment. I mean, the opportunity to be present at any point can really bring an awareness of what this is really about.
It's true. Can I share a similar experience?
Yeah.
So my sister was attacked by a dog.
Right.
On Sunday night. It was horrible. I wasn't there. I just got the text message. Oh, Mary's in the hospital. She's getting stitches. She was attacked by a pit bull. And like, talk about a stereotype. Like, come on, if you're gonna get attacked by a dog, like, we're really trying to help pit bulls out.
Right.
Like, this guy,
Give
come
him a
on.
bad rap.
Yeah, like, come on, you know. So, and the thing about it is, like, that's a harrowing experience. And we grew up with dogs. We always had, we always had animals. My father always wanted a farm, but didn't have a farm, so we always had animals to kind of mimic that in some level.
Yeah.
But the thing is this dog attacked her, knocked her down. The guy, I guess, who was with the dog called the dog off and then like disappeared.
Bolted.
Didn't even ask her if she was okay.
Right.
Didn't check to see what happened. And she got stitches. She was torn up,
Yeah.
and all this stuff. And it was one of those things where it was like, well, like what the heck, and I was caught in like this sadness of like, why are people so heartless? And from there, I was just like, well, why am I spending my time being sad about someone who's really just probably a little lost in the universe and looking for some love, and really
exactly
looking
who they should be for the life they've led up until that moment.
exactly. And it was kind of a same but different. It was like, well, is this really serving me to be mopey about this? Like,
Right.
just it's an opportunity for me to throw some more love at my family and love on my sister a lot more. And it's like bring a closer connection. So same but different.
I love it.
Yeah,
I'll take that as a lesson.
it's definitely a lesson.
If ever you're unhappy, what's the opportunity to shed love on the family?
Love in general, man.
Be patient, be present, be joyful.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
And with that, we'll wrap up our episode for today.
It was a pleasure.
Theresa, whoosh.
Whoosh, Ryan.
She's Theresa Herezga.
He's Ryan Stanley.
We will see you next week. Stay unattached.